Okay, so I thought I'd show you before we start cutting exactly how the engine fits into the plunge unit, a little bit about the collets and how we put them in. So it's really quite simple. We have the spindle lock here. The collet just turns straight in like this here. Router bit goes in like so. Just engage the spindle lock, you can hear it click into place. Turn the nut, give it a little tweak with a spanner, not so much, and there's the router bit in place. I really much prefer this way of changing router bits than, for example, from my old Makita. As you can see here, there was no spindle lock, you needed two spanners. And the spanners had to come in through here, and it was really quite fiddly and often very frustrating to change the bits over. So being able to take the motor out is much easier. Now, inserting the motor into the router base is extremely simple. There is a groove running through the housing here, and this links with a little button here on the motor, if you can see that. And so it's just a matter of locating the button with the groove, pushing the motor unit into place. There's a mechanism here that engages and disengages. This clicks into place and then locks into place with this lever here. So extremely simple. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to calibrate the router, the bottom of the router bit with the bottom of the base, and that will enable us to do our depth settings. So come up to your piece of wood like this here, undo the locking knob on the depth gauge. Around the back is the plunge lever here, disengage that, and just gently drop or lower the router down until it touches the wood, and then take the sliding scale here. I'll bring it round. I'll just lock the plunge base first. Bring this down until it reads 0. 0 from the bottom of this measurement. Okay, so when that's 0, lock that into place. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got the router bit. This is a 16mm straight bit. It's now directly on the piece of wood. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to prepare for a 10mm deep dado through the middle of this piece of wood. So what we have to do here is now undo this, lift the whole unit until it reaches 10mm and tighten. That's all there is to it. And that should be 10mm. There's a micro adjuster down the bottom here. So if in fact this is not exactly 10mm, when we go to do it we can micro adjust to make a second cut later on. Okay, so now disengage the plunge base, lift it up. Around the back of the router, this unit here is the depth of the plunge. So if we don't want too much plunge to start off with, we can lower this down. There's two locking nuts here, and that reduces the depth of our plunge. Depends what you're looking to use the plunge router for. I prefer not so much plunge. So with this adjusted, so now when we look to push the router down, we should have a 10mm cut. Okay, so I've measured the edge here, and what I like to use is one of these. It's a parallel fence. So I'll just move the router out of the way. And this fence comes along here. So the matter is just taking a look at, just turning around the router bit. This will be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to bring this, just move this out of the way. bring the base along until the router bit is directly over the line. I'm going to plunge that down. That is exactly at the right point there. Now just move the parallel fence here, lock the parallel fence into place, and now I have a nice fence here that I can lean against this here, and I can make a dado cut. Okay, so I'll come back soon with the cut.